Welcome everybody. Today we are going to be doing a yin class. My name is Maren, and this yin class will be a full body deep stretch. So the beauty of yin is that it really gets deep into the large joints of our bodies, the shoulders, opening the chest, opening the hips, opening your legs, and hopefully you feel complete relaxation when the class is done. So we will be doing a couple of hip openers, and some feelings might come up, maybe sadness, maybe relief, agitation. That is completely normal. There are going to be things that arise during class, and it's okay. You just notice it, and then come to your breath and just breathe and accept as you surrender into every single pose. So we're going to begin in child's pose. You can have any kind of light music happening that you need. I recommend instrumental music. You can also have the room as dark or as light as you'd like, but darker is generally better. You don't want to necessarily do these classes right after a heavy workout. You can end up, if everything is loose, your ligaments are loose, you can end up injuring yourself. So sometimes doing it what they call cold doesn't mean in a cold room. It just means that your body isn't overheated or heated in any way. That can be really helpful to do it in a cooler, with your body being in a cooler state. So again, we're going to start in child's pose. Now you can take this a couple of different ways. Your knees can be out wide, big toes to touch in the back, with your chest and belly sinking down between your knees, and your forehead comes down to the floor. Or maybe, if this feels a little bit better, bring your knees in tight and bring your forehead down. Again, your hands can be out in front of you if you don't have any shoulder problems and if this feels good. Or maybe your hands are back behind you as you let your shoulders drop down towards the floor. There's also ways you can use a block to support you. If you want a little bit more in your shoulders, a great way to do that is bringing your elbows to a block and then letting your chest sink down between your arms. So it looks like this. Sometimes that feels really good. You get a deep stretch in your sides. So let's begin in child's pose. Any which way you want to be. Just start to settle in here. Notice where your body is today. Notice where your mind is, if it's racing, if it's tired. And start picturing your breath going in and out of your body. You don't have to change it. Just taking deep, full inhales and deep, full exhales. This pose is great for digestion. If your knees are wide, it's a great hip opener. And a great way to start to settle in. Notice where you can let go just a little bit more, where you can melt towards the floor, what can be released. Remember that there is nothing you need to do in any pose. Listen to your body. Don't push yourself. Feel the deep opening. Do your best just to surrender, to let go. If your mind starts to wander, you just gently bring it back to every single sensation in your body. Because you laying here breathing and feeling is yoga. Definition of yoga is about yoking, about connecting. So you're connecting to your insides, you're connecting to your breath, but at the same time connecting to the greater good, the universe, all living beings everywhere. From child's pose, lift your head up and plant your palms into the floor. You're going to slowly start to shift forward and then walk your hands forward, letting your chest drop down into a puppy pose. My hips are over my knees. And if you have a bolster, any kind of prop to help your chest, help support your chest, you can use that now. Throw pillows or a bolster. If this is just too deep for you, coming into this puppy pose. So this is a great support if it's too much. If you don't need the extra support, just let your chest drop down towards the floor. Sometimes this can feel a lot for 5 minutes, so you do what feels right. You can always back out. So if you need an extra stretch or a moment, a break, you take the break and then come back into it. Feel free to bring one cheek to the mat if that feels okay in your neck, or your chin can be on the mat. And you also don't have to be this deep. You can let your chest come forward, your hips can come forward, and then you can rest. If you want, you can slide a bolster or a stack of towels underneath here for some extra support. Notice if you feel the need to fidget, to move around, and just check in why you have that need. Notice where you can melt your chest a little bit deeper. Maybe you notice what's coming up for you. From puppy pose, walk your hands in and place them beside your ribs. And just for a moment, push back right into that child's pose again. We're only going to be here for a moment, but we're releasing your lower back. Deep, long, full breaths. When you're ready, come up onto all fours and walk your hands forward. Then let your hips sink down as you bend into your elbows. Plant your forearms down on the floor and then prop yourself up right here into Sphinx pose. So my hands are about hip distance or shoulder distance away from each other. My palms are pressing into the floor. And I'm trying to release my glutes, my thighs, especially if they're tensing or squeezing. My feet are maybe even a little further than hip distance apart. My knees are completely releasing out towards the sides. And then here you can let your head hang heavy if that serves you, or maybe your head just sits on top of your neck, on top of your shoulders. Notice if your shoulders are like this by your ears, and try to press the floor away from you lightly. Now you can use a bolster, a pillow from your bed, or throw pillows here to support your chest if you need to take a little bit out of your lower back, if this is uncomfortable for you. If you would like a little bit more of a deep stretch in your back, you can come into seal, where you press the floor, you keep your hands where they are, but you press the floor away from you and straightening your arms out. This will get deeper into your back. So notice the need to tense your tush when that happens and try to release it. And start to settle into Sphinx. Whatever serves you best, any which way or variation. You can always do a yin class without any props at all. Your body is enough, and you can modify it using your own body. However, if you have props and they feel good for you, there is never any shame in using them. In fact, sometimes you can get even deeper using props. I know some yogis sometimes feel a certain way about using a block, but we have to let that all go. Do what it takes to feel every sensation in our body, because this is an individual practice. And nobody knows your body better than you. You might notice some shaking in your muscles. No, that's totally normal. This is not a restorative class where you're basically taking a nap for an hour and getting really cozy. Here we are using muscles. There are parts of our bodies that are active. Just try to embrace the discomfort, because that is where we find opening and growth. When you're ready, walk your hands away, walk your elbows away from your body, and let your head come down to the tops of your hands like a pillow, and just rest here for a moment. You might notice your stomach's making some noises. That last pose is great for digestion as you're pressing your organs into the floor, and also good for spine mobility. When you're ready, walk your hands away from you so that your arms are in a T shape. You're going to bring your right cheek to the mat and then walk your left palm in towards your side. You're going to plant your left palm beside your left ribs and then push the floor away from you as you step your left foot behind your extended right leg, coming into a deep shoulder stretch, and then let your right cheek come down to the floor again. If this feels like too much, you can walk your hand down towards your hip, staying in that twist. Or maybe if you need a little bit more, walk your hand up. Deep shoulder stretch here. If you want even more, you can wrap your left arm behind your back. Maybe you bring both feet to the floor, both knees pointed up towards the ceiling. Now you're in control of how deep you go here. So you don't have to go far to feel it. Maybe your hand is at your side and you're rolling up and you feel that stretch. You are in complete control of this shoulder stretch here. Now notice where your mind is. If it feels agitated or uncomfortable, without judgment, just become aware of every sensation. or there's a pose that you can't do, maybe you had shoulder surgery, then just don't do it. You can do anything else you want. Just sit in child's pose if you'd like. Remember, this is your hour. Keeping your right cheek down on the floor. Bring your left leg back over and roll onto your belly and open up your arms to a T as you bring your left knee up towards your left armpit. So this is a half frog. Your right leg is straight back behind you. Your arms are at a T. If you would like, you can bring your hands under your cheek. If you need a little extra support in this half frog, you can put a bolster here or a block. Just coming into a hip opening. Do what works best for you. Remember to kick your foot away from your body to really get deeper into that hip opening. The further your foot kicks out, the deeper that it'll go. Maybe you notice right here how different your shoulders feel. That right open shoulder versus your left shoulder that we haven't done yet. And just start to settle in and notice your left hip melting down towards the floor. Are you holding on in your hip? Are you gripping? Where can you release every ligament, every muscle, to let it sink closer to the floor? in with your hip. Notice where you're holding on to tension and try to release it. When you're ready, walk your left palm away from you and press into the floor. We're going to thread the needle, bring your right arm underneath your left arm, and we're going to roll onto our back right into a supine twist. Now, if you have a block or a bolster and want to use that underneath your left knee to help support it, you can do that. And turn your head towards the left, over your left shoulder, and try to melt both shoulders onto the floor. I'll show you what that looks like from the side. So you walk your left hand out in front of you, you push the floor away, thread the needle, bringing your right arm underneath your left arm, and then you're rolling onto your back, right into a supine twist. Your arms are at a T. You can support your left knee with any kind of pillow or block. And then just settle in, always softening your gaze or maybe closing your eyes if you feel comfortable. And getting this deep supine twist. If it feels more supportive, you can actually bend both knees and stack your left leg on top of your right leg. Sometimes that feels better. Again, notice if you're holding on to some tension in your hips or your shoulders. And see where you can soften. Maybe you take a few deep, full breaths. Every exhale, maybe you twist a little deeper. Taking deep twists like this is so important for spine health. Every day we need to move our spine 6 different ways. Forward fold, backward bend, side bending right, side bending left, and then twisting right and twisting left. Think about all of the connections between your spine and your brain, and how healthy spines basically feed and nourish our brains. In deep twists like this, you can think of your organs like sponges. And when you twist, you're wringing out the old blood. And then when you release, you're letting each organ get filled with brand new fresh blood, rushing in towards the organs. You might be feeling this deep sensation in your left hip here. That's good. Maybe you feel sensations in your shoulders, your back. Come back to those deep, full, nourishing breaths, reoxygenating your blood. With your next inhale, bring your knees in towards your chest. You can use your hands to get them there. Just give yourself a squeeze. Pulling your knees in, letting your hips settle just a little bit. And then slowly let your knees drop to the left. If you had your bottom leg straight on the other side, you can do that now. You can reposition your prop under your left knee if you'd like. And open up your arms back out to a T. Turn your head towards the right. Coming into a supine twist on the other side. Always feel free to adjust, making sure your left hip is stacked under your right hip. And just like every other pose, you are in control of how deep you go here. slowly start to turn your head towards the ceiling. You're going to bring your right arm over your body and plant your palm down on the floor. Start to wiggle your left shoulder out and then extend your left leg long, coming right into that half frog, but with your right knee up this time, kicking your foot away from your body. You can use your hands as a pillow. Maybe this time it's your right cheek if it was your left before, or maybe your chin. And remember, you can always use any prop you have if this feels uncomfortable on your right knee and your right hip. You can add any kind of support you need for that half frog. Notice if you're holding on to that muscle group in your hip, if there's something squeezing, pulling away, maybe afraid of letting it completely drop in. Just notice it and see where you can melt. My left cheek is down, counterbalancing the last time I did the half frog. Notice if you have any tension in your face. Maybe you're squeezing your jaw tightly shut. Maybe that spot in between your eyebrows is all wrinkled. Notice where you can soften just a little more. Come back to your breath if your mind is somewhere else. Deep, full breathing. Notice the sensations in your body. And then open your arms out to a T. So your left arm is straight back behind you. Your left cheek is on the mat. And then walk your right palm in beside your right ribs. And you're going to push the floor away from you as you step your right foot behind your extended left leg. So coming into that deep shoulder stretch, this time with your left arm. And remember, you can walk it down, you can walk it up. If having some support near your chest takes some of the pressure off of your shoulder, you can do that too. Just remember, if you feel pinpoint pain, back off. But if you find a deep stretch sensation, try to hang in there. Try to surrender. These sensations are supposed to be deep. Remind yourself that that's the feeling of your body opening up. If you wrapped your right arm behind your back last time, you could do that again. If you want to bring both knees to the floor, you can do that too. And start to soften where you can. You can think of every pose kind of like a garden hose. And we're creating a kink in the garden hose for these 5-minute periods. And then when we slowly come out of every pose, picture the kink becoming straight and the water rushing from one side to the other. That's kind of what's happening here. We're creating a kink, and then as we unravel, fresh blood rushes towards the joint, helps lubricate the joint. Especially as we age, these big joints become stiffer with less mobility. So a yin class like this helps create more mobility, more opening. Better health for your overall body. notice a sensation in your hand. Maybe it feels cooler. That's totally normal. Start to walk your right hand away from your body and then roll over onto your belly, right into that T shape from before. Notice how different your shoulders feel from where we started. Maybe you feel the blood rushing into your left shoulder. When you're ready, walk your palms in, keeping your knees down. Push up into a tabletop position and then sit off to the side of your mat. Extend your legs out in front of you. Maybe your feet a little wider than hip distance if that feels good. Have your bolster or your pillow close by if you want some extra support. And then inhale, reach your arms up. Maybe you look up, create some space, and then keeping a flat back, start to fold forward. If you want to bend your knees to bring your chest towards your knees, you can. And you can tuck maybe a pillow underneath your knees. You can use a bolster that way too, just for extra support. You can also use the bolster on top of your thighs. That creates nice support for your chest, your belly, also your thighs. Do it any way you'd like and just start to settle in. Try to surrender into this forward fold. Notice if some muscle in your back or your neck or shoulders is holding on. Where can you soften? Where can you melt? If your mind is somewhere else, slowly guide it back to every sensation in your body. Maybe you even picture your breath, a color, maybe a cool blue, going in and out of your body, soothing you. Slowly start to walk your hands in. And just sit here for a moment. Maybe you bend your knees. Notice how your body feels. If you have a block and you'd like to turn it into a heart bench, we're going to be placing the block at any setting. So if you want it up higher, you can try it like this. It's going to be parallel to the long edge of your mat. Or maybe a little bit flatter, you can put it down. If you have a very flexible back, you can go the highest amount. And if you have 2 blocks, which I recommend, or using a pillow, which is my favorite, place that at the very top of your mat. So we're going to slowly roll down onto the block. The block is going to come right between your shoulder blades. And then use the pillow. You can turn it on its side to get the length if you need it. If you have a couple of pillows that you want to use. And then let your arms go towards your sides. You can bring your feet straight out, or if you want a little bit extra in the hip opening department, maybe you come into Supta Konasana with this heart bench. And that means bringing the bottoms of your feet together, letting your hips open as your knees open up towards the sides. If this is too deep but you still want the hip opening, you can place a pillow under both knees. And remember, if this becomes just too much for you, you can always release the block from under your back. There's nothing you have to do here. If you want a little bit more support with your extended legs, you can also bend your knees. Have your feet separated and just have your knees pointed up. You can also slide a bolster under your knees here. pose, always make sure your hips are down on the mat. Slowly walk your hands in, your elbows in, and just plant your elbows on the floor, lift your chest, and then move to one side just to pull everything out from under you. If you want to leave the bolster under your knees, you can. We're coming into Shavasana. Slowly roll down onto your back. Before we get there, just bring your knees in towards your chest. You don't have to squeeze too hard. Maybe wrap your arms around your shins and just rock side to side here, massaging your lower back into the floor. Maybe your middle back presses. Do some circles with your knees. And then you've made it to Shavasana. Walk your feet away from your body. Again, you can keep your knees supported if that felt great to you. Arms away from your body, palms up to receive the energy of the room, or palms down to ground you a little more, though this practice was very grounding. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. And you can take Shavasana however you'd like, or if you'd like a guided meditation. Start to picture your body getting filled with water, starting at your toes. Maybe the water is turquoise in color. Maybe it's a light pink, any color that feels soothing to you. And watch your toes get filled. Watch your ankles slowly fill with water. And all the sensations in your body, picture a certain color. Maybe they're red. Maybe they're bright green. And as the water rushes to that part of your body, picture that water soothing the discomfort, the sensation. Maybe you feel that water help melt you closer to the floor as you watch the water fill your calves, fill your knees. And as slowly as can be, let it fill you all the way to the crown of your head. No rush to be filled up. Just watch it. Be a silent observer as your body gets soothed. Gently bring some awareness back into the room. If you want to stay in Shavasana and you're still not filled up with water, it's okay. Stay where you are. for the rest of you who want to be guided out, follow the sound of my voice. Just take a moment and feel the weight of your bones. Feel every part of your body that's pressing down into the floor. Maybe you notice how different you feel from when you started this class. And start to wiggle your fingers, bring some life back into your breath, deep, full breaths. Maybe wiggle your toes, roll out your wrists, roll out your ankles. Inhale, reach your arms up overhead, point your toes, take a full body stretch. Exhale, bring your knees in towards your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins again, but this time give yourself a hug, a real hug, a squeeze, a thank you. Because you gave yourself this gift, you showed up for yourself today. Roll onto your right or your left side, whatever side you need right here. And then use your hands to push your way up to a comfortable seat. Hands come to heart center. Eyes stay closed or your gaze softened. Let's take one deep, full breath together right here. Inhale deeply through your nose. Hold it at the top. Open your mouth, let it go. You are loved, you are brave, and you are enough. The love and light within me honors and respects the love and light within you, and it is with this love and light that we are all connected. Namaste. Thank you guys for joining me. That was Yin. My name is Maren. If you have any questions or concerns or questions about what kind of props to use during Yin or where to put them, just let me know. I'm here. I'm going to stop